Chapter 766. Get suspicious. Only when an elder possesses both moral character and virtue can they truly be considered qualified to hold such a position. From the fact that my grandfather repeatedly expelled her from the Marquis manor, and even then, none of the uncles and aunties in the manor were willing to associate with her, it should be evident that my aunt lacks the qualifications to be considered an elder. Secondly, I am not using my status to belittle Dr. Huang. As a doctor myself, Dr. Huang has been treating Madame for so long, yet he is unable to even explain the medications I have prescribed for her. Does he truly possess the capability to treat her? Does Marquis not wish to discern whether Dr. Huang lacks the necessary skill or is being manipulated by someone? Su Yingxue's words were even more direct. The doubts in Marquis Changxin's heart were immediately brought to the surface by her words. Although Madame may have been born with certain deficiencies, this illness has developed over the years, he murmured, casting a doubtful glance at Dr. Huang. Su Yingxue smirked. Anyone who could attain Marquis Changxin's position was undoubtedly astute. Even if he favored Su Xinlan, he should understand the gravity of the situation. Especially with the headmaster of the Imperial Medical Academy present. Marquis Changxin turned to the headmaster. May I ask, based on your impartial judgment, is this a matter of my wife's health or a reflection of Dr. Huang's medical proficiency? The headmaster pointed to Su Aoqing. Indeed, Madame is gravely ill, but her condition is not beyond treatment. As for Dr. Huang, I have yet to see evidence of his qualification as a doctor. You! How dare you baselessly slander me? Dr. Huang protested, his disbelief evident. He had been practicing medicine for many years and had a reputation in Jiangdu City. He was even a regular physician for noble families and mansions. Yet, he was belittled to such an extent. He even said that he didn't have the qualifications to be a doctor. It was too much. Baseless slander. Would the esteemed headmaster engage in such behavior? Su Yingxue's lips curved into a mocking smile. Her eyes, though crescent-shaped, exuded a chilling aura that instilled fear. Dr. Huang, somewhat worldly wise, instinctively bowed his head before Su Yingxue's gaze. I am a legitimate doctor. I do not diagnose without cause. If it's legitimate, may I ask, Dr. Huang, how much did you earn in a month? Su Yingxue raised an eyebrow, subtly setting a trap for Dr. Huang. Dr. Huang replied, the monthly salary from the medicine hall was 10 taels of silver. Oh. With a monthly salary of 10 taels of silver, how did you manage to afford attire from Radiant Colors Pavilion and a yellow rosewood bracelet? Su Yingxue asked, subtly exposing the inconsistency. Su Yingxue grabbed his sleeve, allowing everyone to see. His attire, worth several times his monthly salary, exposed him entirely. Of course, it must be from alternative sources of income. Perhaps accepting bribes to harm others. Su Miaoan's clear voice chimed in. Marquis Changxin narrowed his eyes, his expression turning cold. It seems you truly are a doctor who lacks ethical standards. Dr. Huang panicked. Marquis, that's not true. These clothes, this bracelet, they are. In his panic, Dr. Huang looked towards Su Xinlan. Su Xinlan glared at him. Idiot! What was he looking at her for? Su Xinlan thought. Of course, she paid no heed to the foolish doctor. She continued to sob before Marquis Changxin. Marquis, it's all my fault. I misjudged and chose such a doctor for my sister. I will punish myself and ensure to find a better physician for her in the future. Very well, Marquis Changxin responded curtly. Compared to his previous tenderness towards her, he now regarded Su Xinlan with suspicion. Chapter 767, Lose One's Face. Marquis, my illness was treated by the 9th Princess Consort. She is kind and willing to treat me. There is no need for others to worry. Su Aoqing lay on the bed. Although her voice was weak, she seemed less lifeless than before. Her face showed signs of vitality. Su Xinlan clenched her teeth, her grip on the handkerchief almost crushing it. Su Yingxue. This meddlesome woman. Su Yingxue smiled. I will fulfill my promise, but I also want to uncover why Dr. Huang wanted to harm her and what grudge exists between them. Since the truth had been revealed, there was no reason for Su Xinlan to have an easy time. If the truth seemed revealed, she had no choice but to expose it further. Marquis, Yingxue is not one to cause trouble without reason. Moreover, you and my grandfather have been colleagues for many years. As the younger generation, we naturally hope for harmony among the elders. Su Han spoke openly. Elegant and graceful, her words were persuasive. As soon as she spoke, Marquis Changxin's resistance to Su Yingxue diminished. Exactly. As handsome brother says, in a big family, one unclear matter may lead to several, even years-old, issues. It's like the root of a big tree rotting away. If not removed in time, the whole tree will fall. Su Miaoyan chimed in. She was innocent and adorable. Marquis Changxin couldn't help but be curious about who her pretty brother was and how he taught her such profound ideas. Miss Miaoyan, who is your handsome brother? Yiling Bai was equally curious. Su Miaoyan proudly replied, my handsome brother is named Xiao. He's handsome and kind-hearted. Yiling Bai was taken aback. The eldest young master of the Xiao family, the wealthiest family in the world, Xiao. Everyone present was familiar with this name. After all, whether or not they dealt directly with the Xiao family, they certainly interacted with their businesses. No one was unaware of who Xiao was. Marquis Changxin couldn't help but take Su Miaoyan's words to heart. He waved his hand. Men, take Dr. Huang away and interrogate him about what happened when he treated the madam. Marquis Changxin's trusted aide dragged Dr. Huang out. As Dr. Huang was being dragged away, he screamed, almost shouting accusations at Su Xinlan. Su Xinlan broke out in a cold sweat. She was afraid her involvement with Dr. Huang would be exposed. She immediately sent for Yizhenjin to plead for her. Looking at the room full of people, she gritted her teeth. Marquis, with so many outsiders here, it's not good for us to investigate matters within our household. After all, if word gets out, it will tarnish the reputation of our Marquis manor. Are you worried about tarnishing your reputation? Yiling Bai sneered. A hint of malice flashed in Su Xinlan's eyes, but she gently wiped away her tears. Eldest young master, I don't seek forgiveness for blaming you. However, this is an internal matter for our household. Regardless of who the princess consort or the lady is, what does it matter to us? Her words struck home. No family head would allow their family scandals to be exposed to outsiders and spread. Even if the person's status were higher, they wouldn't allow it. Marquis Changxin looked at Su Yingxue indifferently. Ninth Princess Consort, it's getting late. You've been of great help today. I'll have someone escort you back to your manor. Chapter 768, Chu Yihan followed Su Yingxue like a shadow. Su Yingxue smiled. I knew I wasn't exactly welcomed here, but apart from treating Madam, I have another matter that needs resolving by Marquis before I depart. Is there anything else? Marquis Changxin's brow furrowed. My marriage to your highness, Su Yingxue stated frankly. Your marriage to the ninth prince is widely known and celebrated across the realm. While it brings honor to my Changxin Marquis manor, I'm uncertain how I can assist the princess consort, Marquis Changxin replied. He maintained politeness when discussing marriage matters. It's not so much about assistance. I merely hope that Marquis can keep your household members in check, preventing them from spreading rumors and causing trouble. I'll handle these rumors here, but if they reach your highness, I'm unsure how he'll handle it, Su Yingxue explained, her demeanor kind yet authoritative. Her words compelled Marquis Changxin to address the issue. If it's merely a rumor, it will naturally be dispelled. But if it's not, what will the princess consort do? Marquis Changxin recalled Su Xinlan's mention of Chu Yihan's possible interest in Yizhenjin. Yizhenjin had been loved by him for many years, so naturally, he was willing for her to marry well. Chu Yihan was undoubtedly the most esteemed man in the great Qing dynasty, worthy of his status. It was an honor to become his secondary consort. But Su Yingxue seemed too dominant. Father, I suspect this rumor may be deliberately spread by someone in our household. Consider today, the 9th princess consort visited Mother, and though the 9th prince didn't come himself, he sent Dr. Huang and the headmaster. His attention and affection toward 9th princess consort leave no room for a third party, Yi Lingbai interjected. Yi Lingbai spoke up for justice. When it came to emotions, he understood well. When a man deeply loves a woman, he would never allow another person into his heart. Not even a single strand of hair could fit. Su Yingxue raised an eyebrow. In some aspects, Yi Lingbai still understood things well. However, Marquis Changxin rebuked him, nonsense. Do you think 9th prince is like you? Zhenshin's status is sufficient to be the 9th prince's secondary consort. If 9th prince has intentions, and someone intentionally obstructs, it's sinister. Su Xinlan smiled, standing beside Marquis Changxin. Exactly. Jinjin has been cherished by Marquis Changxin since childhood. Her beauty and character are among the finest in Jiangdu City. It's natural for 9th prince to be attracted to her. When did my taste become so lacking? The man's cold voice, carried by the winter wind, sent shivers down everyone's spine. Marquis Changxin was taken aback and promptly knelt. Greetings, Your Highness. The others followed suit. Greetings, 9th prince. Even Su Aoqing mustered the strength to pay her respects. Now, only 2 remained standing in the room. One was Su Yingxue. Chu Yihan approached her and playfully tapped her nose. You finally remembered. Su Yingxue chuckled. Your Highness said no kneeling. He's mentioned it many times, so of course, I remember. After all, she had never knelt before. Su Yingxue preferred to avoid such formalities if possible. This man was her husband. He. The other person standing there was Su Xinlan. She was stunned. She gritted her teeth. She hated Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue. This woman seemed to have all the luck, with Chu Yihan following her everywhere. Was Chu Yihan blind or simply idle? Chapter 769. Su Xinlan was stupid. You, what are you doing? Hurry up and bow to Your Highness. Marquis Changxin saw Su Xinlan in a daze and quickly pulled her, prompting her to react and kneel unwillingly. Greetings, Your Highness. Chu Yihan said lightly, Marquis Changxin, the crown prince is free. Marquis Changxin and Yi Lingbai stood up, and Su Miaoyan called him brother-in-law. Naturally, Chu Yihan wouldn't let her and Su Han kneel. But when Marquis Changxin was about to help Su Xinlan up, Chu Yihan's cold gaze fell on him. Did I ask you to get up? His gaze was so sharp like the Grim Reaper had descended upon Su Xinlan. Her legs trembled, and she knelt aggrievedly. Your Highness, what do you mean? Laner is my concubine, please be lenient, Your Highness, Marquis Changxin pleaded for Su Xinlan. Chu Yihan's oppressive gaze fell on him. Her identity has nothing to do with me, but I will never let off those who spread rumors. This, Marquis Changxin panicked. Initially, he did not believe that Chu Yihan and Yizhenjin were involved. However, he could not withstand Su Xinlan's few words of persuasion. She even vividly described them to the ninth prince's mansion, which made him waver a little. Now that he saw Chu Yihan's attitude, he knew that Su Xinlan was foolish. He glared at Su Xinlan. Su Xinlan's heart trembled violently. Su Aoqing finally saw Su Xinlan lower her head for once. She could not wait to defeat her. However, she still thought for a while before she organized her words and said, "Marquis, it is understandable that Sister Lan is eager to marry her daughter. However, since Yixinjin has already promised the young master of the Prime Minister's estate, and now there are rumors that she and the ninth prince are going to be secondary concubines, it will damage the reputation of the Marquis Manor and affect her future." Marquis Changxin naturally valued his reputation. "Bring Miss here," he said immediately. His subordinates had gone to seek Yixinjin, but Su Xinlan panicked. She cursed in her heart. If Yixinjin came at this time, she would be slapped in the face. She hurriedly went forward to dissuade him. "Marquis, Jinjin has not returned yet. If we were to find her now, it would be too much trouble and arouse suspicion. Her reputation has already become like this. What is she still doing outside?" Marquis Changxin was extremely displeased. The way he looked at Su Xinlan was no longer as doting as before. Su Xinlan bit her lip in grievance. He was not like this in the past. This old man, who was old enough to be her father, had doted on her before. Yixinjin was called back by Su Xinlan. At this moment, her father's men were looking for her, so she could not wait to pick up her pace. She had heard that ninth prince was here as well. Did the man she admired the most come to propose marriage? Just like how he proposed marriage to Su Yingxue previously. Although she didn't expect him to use the country as a betrothal gift, the betrothal gift he casually gave was enough for her to show off in front of all the noble ladies in Jiangdu City. Thinking of this, she could not help but quicken her pace. She did not even see the threshold and stumbled in. Oh! She made too much noise, and everyone in the room immediately focused their eyes on her. Su Xinlan quickly chided in a low voice, "Jinjin, why are you so undignified? It ruined her image. Where did you go to cause trouble? Such recklessness. Hurry up and greet the ninth prince." Marquis Changxin scolded angrily. Yixinjin entered the room and was scolded before she could be happy. She pouted her lips aggrievedly and walked in with small steps. "I know I was wrong." Chapter 770. If a tree has rotten roots, it must be dug up. However, when Yixinjin saw Chu Yihan, her eyes lit up. She immediately approached Chu Yihan and bowed to him with a gentle voice. "Greetings, Your Highness." Chu Yihan pretended not to hear her. Yixinjin's enthusiasm contrasted sharply with his coldness, making the situation awkward. Yixinjin didn't dare to rise since Chu Yihan remained silent. The mother and daughter knelt on the ground. Chu Yihan asserted firmly, "I will only marry one person in this lifetime. I will never take a concubine." Marquis Changxin's face flushed with embarrassment. It felt like a slap in the face. But he was also perplexed. "But Lena mentioned earlier that Your Highness summoned her and Jinjin to the ninth prince's mansion. If Your Highness had no intention, why take such action?" "I have never summoned anyone to the prince's mansion." Chu Yihan's voice was cold and authoritative. His words felt like a heavy boulder weighing on Marquis Changxin's heart. He inwardly seethed and shot a glare at Su Xinlan. Su Xinlan could only wipe her tears, feeling aggrieved and unable to speak. She also worried about another matter. Since Chu Yihan had personally appeared, what about the person she had arranged to stay in the Marquis Manor? She didn't know if he had escaped or not. "Marquis, this rumor was investigated by my Marquis of Marshall South's manor. I have also brought the witness. It will depend on how Marquis deals with it." Su Yingxue glanced at Su Han, who then ordered the tall, thin man to be brought in. After removing the cloth from his mouth, he immediately pleaded, "Spare me. Eldest young miss, spare me." It was Su Xinlan who asked me to do this. She gave me money to spread rumors. It's not true. He feared Su Yingxue deeply in his heart, and as soon as his mouth was freed, he couldn't wait to spill the beans. Su Xinlan panicked and immediately accused, "You're talking nonsense. You're just a servant, why would you falsely accuse me? I've hardly been to the Marquis Manor, how could I bribe you? Hardly been there. You frequent the Marquis of Marshall South's manor and have sinister intentions." The tall, thin man subconsciously revealed the truth. Su Yingxue smirked slightly. "Auntie is indeed restless. Changshin Marquis Manor isn't enough for you to showcase your talents. You insist on meddling with the Marquis of Marshall South's manor. No wonder Grandpa wants to throw you out." "That's right. The Marquis Manor is a towering tree, but if the roots are rotten, it will surely rot unless it's cut down. Sister Xue, our Marquis of Marshall South's manor doesn't want such rotten roots." Su Miaoyan pouted and spat at Su Xinlan. Do you even have the right to speak?" Su Xinlan's eyes reddened as she attempted to pounce on Su Miaoyan. She wanted to shut her mouth. She looked utterly detestable. "Stop." Marquis Changshin grabbed Su Xinlan and threw her aside. "It's you. Your methods are despicable." Marquis Changshin's face turned red in front of Chu Yifeng. "You've disgraced me. No wonder Su Yingxue came to visit today. No wonder she insisted on curing Madam. It was all because Su Xinlan had done such a despicable thing." Marquis Changshin shook his head heavily. "Laner, you disappoint me." As soon as the word disappoint was uttered, Su Xinlan felt as if her heart had been crushed. She shook her head violently and hugged Marquis Changshin's leg. "Marquis, don't be disappointed in me. I didn't do it. It was Su Yingxue who slandered me. Slandering Jinjin and me. Ninth Prince was interested in Jinjin. Is Zenshin's innocence something to joke about?" Chapter 771, You Want to Go to the Ninth Prince's Mansion. At this juncture, Su Xinlan could only shamelessly endure it. Otherwise, it would not only Marquis Changshin's trust in her but also Yi Zenshin's reputation. "Yes, Daddy. If the Ninth Prince had no intention, I would not have gone to the Ninth Prince's mansion that day." She deliberately wanted to say something but didn't say it. Her aggrieved look made it seem as if Chu Yifeng had done something to her. "Are you blaming the Ninth Prince for not holding you accountable for trespassing into the Ninth Prince's mansion that day?" Su Yingxue raised her eyebrows. Her words gave Yi Jinjin a tight slap. "What is it? How dare she trespass into the Ninth Prince's mansion? Marquis, this is a great disrespect to the Ninth Prince." Su Aoqing was still lying on the bed, but she knew how to find the right time to make use of Yi Zenshin's mistakes. Marquis Changshin felt like he had lost all his face. He pulled a long face and reprimanded Yi Jinjin, "You are too arrogant. How can you trespass into the Ninth Prince's mansion? Your Highness has already shown mercy by not blaming you. Apologize to your Highness and Princess Consort." Marquis Changshin knew that since Chu Yifeng had come to the Marquis Manor today, there must be an outcome to this matter. Otherwise, Chu Yifeng's anger was not something that he or the Marquis Manor could bear. Yi Jinjin was still kneeling on the ground. She was angry and resentful. The anger in her heart was about to ignite her internal organs. "I want to apologize. That day, your Highness didn't blame me and even let me stay in the prince's mansion until late at night. Could it be that your Highness is so heartless?" She still wanted to continue to have a relationship with Chu Yifeng. However, Su Xinlan already felt that she was in danger. They had almost been killed by the palace guards of the prince's mansion that day. Now, Yixinjin was bringing up this matter again. Su Xinlan quickly knelt beside Yixinjin and held her in her arms as she bowed to Marquis Changxin. Marquis, Xinjin is still young. It was my fault as her mother that I brought her to the prince's mansion. This has nothing to do with her. It was my fault for what happened in the prince's mansion that day. Marquis, don't blame Xinjin. It seems that she likes the prince's mansion. Your Highness, why don't you bring her back to the prince's mansion? Su Yingxue tilted her head and looked smart and strange. Chu Yihan held her hand and agreed. Okay. Yi Zhenchen's eyes lit up. Your Highness. As expected, you have feelings for me. That was great. She had a chance to enter the prince's mansion. As long as she could enter the 9th prince's mansion, she did not believe that she could not defeat Su Yingxue. She would beat Su Yingxue up. Su Xinlan was trembling. She pulled Yixinjin and whispered, Xinjin, don't be careless. I'm afraid that this is Su Yingxue's scheme again. If Yixinjin was trapped in the 9th prince's mansion, she would not be able to save her. Your Highness, my daughter is mischievous and is not fit to enter the 9th prince's mansion. Your Highness, please retract your order. Marquis Changxin was even more worried than Su Xinlan. Chu Yihan had no interest in Yixinjin at all. It was not a good thing to bring her into the 9th prince's mansion. It's all right. No matter how mischievous she is, she can't escape from the dungeon of the 9th prince's mansion. I still have a Tiger Mountain, and there's a white tiger in the Tiger Mountain. She can also get along with Shan Bao. It's not that the 9th prince's mansion can't tolerate her. Chu Yihan's words were light, but Yi Zhenchen's face was pale. She almost fainted. Su Xinlan was so frightened that she screamed, no. Dungeon. Tiger Mountain. My daughter can't go to such a place. She grabbed onto Marquis Changxin as if she had lost her soul and pleaded, Marquis. Marquis, think of a way. Xinjin can't go to the 9th prince's mansion. She has no interest in the 9th prince and doesn't want to go to the 9th prince's mansion. She doesn't want to go. If Yixinjin were to go to the prince's mansion, what would become of her life? Chapter 772, Separated from Her Beloved. Marquis Changxin naturally understood he couldn't allow Yixinjin to leave. How could he not know Chu Yihan's cruel and bloodthirsty nature? However, when he spoke, his tone was serious. Your Highness, I have failed to properly guide my daughter. I hope your Highness can forgive me. Please don't punish my daughter. As a consequence, I will confine her to home for 3 years without marriage. I hope your Highness will grant this request. Daddy! Yixinjin exclaimed, I'm already 18. I can't remain unmarried for 3 years. I'll be considered an old woman. She couldn't accept it. She wanted to marry into a good family, not stay single forever. Marquis, please have mercy. Don't be so harsh on Xinjin. She's your beloved daughter. Su Xinlan pleaded desperately. Shut up. If you had raised her properly and prevented her from having such thoughts, would I have to punish her like this? Marquis Changxin snapped, his disappointment evident in his tone. At this moment, everyone awaited Chu Yihan's decision. Marquis Changxin's punishment was already severe, but without Chu Yihan's final word, it would not be final. Chu Yihan gently touched Su Yingxue's face and asked, do you dislike her that much? Su Yingxue nodded. Of course, I don't want her trying to steal you away from me. She had no reason to like a woman trying to snatch her future husband, nor did she need to act saintly. Marquis Changxin. Chu Yihan's voice held authority. Marquis Changxin bowed. Your Highness. Send Yixinjin to a convent 30 miles outside the city for spiritual cultivation. Without the permission of the princess consort, she is not to marry in her lifetime. Chu Yihan's voice was deep and commanding, resonating with authority. Especially when he mentioned needing Su Yingxue's approval. Su Yingxue whispered, "How domineering." A faint smile graced Chu Yihan's lips. Su Han and Su Miaoyan agreed that Chu Yihan's punishment was fitting. Only Marquis Changxin and Su Xinlan were shocked and heartbroken. "Yes, thank you for your leniency, Your Highness." Marquis Changxin conceded, unable to hide his pain. "How could this happen? My daughter, why did you have to send her away?" Su Xinlan sobbed as she embraced Yizhenjin, her heart aching. Su Yingxue and Chu Yihan were as ruthless as Su Qingji had been in the past. Su Yingxue. Yizhenjin gritted her teeth, tears in her eyes. She refused to cry. She wouldn't let Su Yingxue off so easily. After handling Yizhenjin, darkness fell. Su Yingxue handed the prescription to Yilingbai, asking him to prepare the medicine for Su Aoqing. Yilingbai expressed his gratitude profusely, and with sincerity. Su Aoqing gave Su Yingxue a promise, "Miss Su, rest assured, I will fulfill the promise I made to you." With this assurance, Su Yingxue left satisfied. However, when Yilingbai saw her off, she suddenly asked him, "Young Master Yi, have you ever deeply loved a woman?" Yilingbai was momentarily surprised, then replied solemnly to Su Yingxue, "Yes." Upon hearing this, Su Yingxue nodded, finding his response unsurprising. Deeply loved. Yes. Although Yilingbai was unmarried, Su Yingxue guessed, "Have you parted ways?" Yilingbai nodded. "Yes, it's been a while." They had separated despite their deep love, likely due to circumstances beyond their control. "Do you still love her?" For some reason, Su Yingxue was particularly curious. Chapter 773. Already the 9th princess consort Yilingbai confessed without hesitation, "One love her deeply. Even after all this time, she's the only one in my heart." Mentioning his beloved, Yilingbai's heart ached, yet a faint smile graced his lips. There was perhaps nothing more joyous in this world than the thought of her. Su Yingxue smiled at Yilingbai without further comment. Marquis Changxin repeatedly apologized to Chu Yihan, who had only briefly parted from Su Yingxue. Upon his return, he noticed her conversing with Yilingbai, and his expression immediately darkened. Su Yingxue approached him playfully and hooked his arm, "Thank you, Your Highness, for today." "Oh." Chu Yihan released her hand, his handsome face veiled in a hint of coldness. Su Yingxue observed his appearance and was puzzled. She asked, "What's wrong with you, Your Highness?" After all, they had only been apart for a short while. Why was he displeased? Chu Yihan remained silent. Su Yingxue pursued him with questions, but he offered no response. Walking behind them, only Su Yilan and Su Miaoyan detected something amiss. As they exited Changxin Marquis Manor and prepared to board the carriage, Su Miaoyan whispered into Su Yingxue's ear, "Silly sister. Your Highness saw you talking to Yilingbai." Su Yingxue came to a realization. Is he jealous? Pfft. Sister, if you know, why not go and appease him? Even Marquis Changxin must speak in hushed tones before him. Su Miaoyan playfully winked and nudged Su Yingxue towards Chu Yihan. With Su Han's attentiveness, Song Qingyi had already procured another carriage. Su Han and Su Miaoyan boarded the carriage and returned to the manor. The carriage they had arrived in was now for Su Yingxue. As Su Miaoyan hopped into the carriage, she nearly sprained her ankle. Song Qingyi stood by, offering no assistance. In contrast, when Su Han entered the carriage, Song Qingyi extended his arm to her. His voice was hoarse yet gentle, "Miss, be careful." Su Han smiled and gently rested her hand on his arm. After Su Han settled into the carriage, Su Miaoyan teased, "Sister Han, have you noticed that General Song beside you seems quite concerned about you?" Knowing what she was thinking, Su Han patted her head and explained, "One saved him once, and he's here to repay my kindness." Su Miaoyan's eyes widened. "Repay? So that's why. I thought he liked you. One saw how he looked at you, like how Ninth Prince treats Sister Xue. He cares for you in every way. Just now, when I almost fell, he didn't even help me up, but he treated you differently." Su Han smiled, and Su Miaoyan dismissed it as a joke, giving it no further thought. However, Su Han's mind was elsewhere. She leaned against the wall of the carriage and lifted the curtain. She could see Song Qingyi sitting upright on a horse. Despite his scarred face and raspy voice, he exuded an aura of calm reassurance. This made her feel quite good. As soon as Su Yingxue entered the other carriage, she felt like she was being abducted. She lifted the curtain and pointed to the road outside the window. She questioned, "Your Highness, this is not the way back to the Marquis Manor." Chu Yifeng sat upright in the carriage, his demeanor noble and imposing. "We're returning to the prince's mansion." Su Yingxue pouted, "Your Highness, are you going to kidnap me again? We're not married yet. You're already the 9th princess consort. Didn't Marquis Changxin inform you?" Chu Yifeng raised an eyebrow, his expression brimming with pride. Chapter 774, afraid that one day Su Yingxue cupped her face. "I've been called the 9th princess consort all day, so of course I know. But, Your Highness, how could you act first and inform me later? Joining the imperial family's genealogy should at least require my presence, right?" Chu Yifeng had arranged everything without a word. Su Yingxue thought that Chu Yifeng was too domineering. "If you don't join the imperial family's genealogy, how can you be my princess consort and still think of leaving?" Chu Yifeng grabbed her face and pulled her into his embrace. Seeing her smiling and chatting with Yiling Bai earlier had made him very displeased. "Your Highness, it's not good for a man to be too jealous." Su Yingxue spoke helplessly, her face still pinched. A trace of embarrassment flashed across Chu Yifeng's face. Who said he was jealous? He released Su Yingxue but still sat upright with a serious demeanor. "Su Yingxue, do you know the crime of making random guesses about this prince?" "One don't know. Please enlighten me, Your Highness." Su Yingxue blinked curiously. "Tonight, you are not allowed to leave the prince's mansion," Chu Yifeng announced domineeringly, leaving Su Yingxue no chance to leave. Although they were not yet married, Su Yingxue always felt at home whenever she visited the 9th prince's mansion. Everyone there welcomed her with smiles, which made her feel more at home than at the Marquis Manor. Especially when passing by Tiger Mountain, Shan Bao stood at the highest point and roared, "Roar!" Its majestic and powerful call carried a few traces of deep longing. Finally, Su Yingxue had come to see him. Shan Bao was overjoyed and ran down the mountain to greet Su Yingxue, only to find Su Yingxue walked past it and disappeared. "Roar! Roar!" Shan Bao clawed the ground furiously. Where did she go? At the Fictional Pavilion, it was the second time Su Yingxue stepped into this place. The warmth and fragrance of the hot spring made her unconsciously immerse herself. However, every time she entered, she couldn't help but kneel before the portrait of Consort Shu. Consort Shu was truly beautiful, so much so that people couldn't help but want to submit to her. Chu Yifeng also knelt with her to pay respects to Consort Shu before pulling her up. Su Yingxue saw Chu Yifeng silently go to a spot. When he returned, he was holding something but said nothing. Afraid of any misunderstanding, she quickly held his arm and said, "Your Highness, don't mind it." One didn't say much to Yiling Bai, one was just curious about his beloved and asked a couple of questions. Why would you be curious about someone else's private matters for no reason? Chu Yifeng raised an eyebrow, finding it strange. Yingxue was never one to gossip or meddle in others' affairs. I felt an emotional resonance. Yingxue said he and his beloved had been apart for a long time, but whenever he mentioned her, he couldn't help but smile. Thinking of Yingxue's smile still made Yingxue feel happy. This was the most beautiful aspect of love. Chu Yifeng gazed deeply at her, waiting for her to finish. Her voice softened. Although we are getting married, Your Highness, I have a lingering worry. I'm afraid that one day, we might be separated and not know when we can meet again. If that day ever comes, when one think of you, I guess I'll feel like Yingxue. That kind of love, unattainable but cherished like a treasure in one's heart, was enough to bring joy just by thinking about it. As long as there was such a beloved person in the heart. Chapter 775. Gentle and loving Yingxue suddenly felt a strong force on her face as Chu Yifeng's lips fiercely covered hers. His voice was intense and domineering. No. Yingxue, I won't allow such a day to come. Yingxue reacted by wrapping her arms around his neck. They were intimately entwined until Yingxue's hand touched the box that Chu Yifeng had brought out. What's this? She asked as a cool sensation attracted her attention. Instinctively, Yingxue opened the box and was momentarily blinded by its brightness. So bright. Yingxue took a step back, discovering that as the box opened, a golden phoenix sprang forth. Upon closer inspection, she realized it wasn't a real phoenix but floating in the air. Chu Yifeng's elegant fingers gently caressed the floating phoenix. In a low voice, he said, "This is phoenix satin." Phoenix satin. Yingxue's eyes flashed with surprise. She had heard that a famous weaving workshop from the previous dynasty required 100 embroiderers a year to produce just one piece of this precious fabric. After the previous dynasty fell and the workshop was destroyed, phoenix satin disappeared. Several empresses of the Great Qing dynasty had sought phoenix satin to make their robes, believing it represented true imperial grace. Yet none had ever found it. And now, Chu Yifeng had it. Chu Yifeng explained, "A surrendered general offered this to me 10 years ago during a campaign in the desert. Phoenix satin does not decay for 100 years, and to this day, it remains as bright as new. When exposed to light, the phoenix floats in the air, vivid and lifelike. There is no other like it in the world." Yingxue was both shocked and delighted. "Your Highness, are you giving this to me? I have already tailored it into a wedding dress for you, according to your measurements," Chu Yifeng said. He held the phoenix satin with deep affection in his eyes. "Put it on and let me see." Yingxue was utterly surprised. Even the wedding dress had been prepared by Chu Yifeng with such care. She changed into the wedding dress in front of him. Inside the Fictional Pavilion, the soft light from luminous pearls and the reflections from glazed tiles made the room as bright as day, creating a beautiful ambience. But the most breathtaking sight was Yingxue in her phoenix satin dress. The golden phoenix on the train of her dress seemed ready to take flight, shimmering as if it were soaring through the air. It was stunningly beautiful. Chu Yifeng gazed at Yingxue, unable to look away. She had grown into an extraordinary woman. Her face no longer held the softness of youth, but her clear, bright eyes were just as he remembered. To all for my whole life, these were the most beautiful words of love he had ever heard. "Your Highness," Yingxue's sweet voice was like a gentle stream flowing through the heart. Chu Yifeng was drawn to her, stepping closer. Though she was not petite, standing before him, she only reached his chest. He gently wrapped his arm around her waist, and she sank into his embrace, soft and delicate, inviting tender affection. Your Highness, you kept this phoenix satin for 10 years, which means you have been waiting for me all this time, Su Yingxue sighed softly. She was deeply moved by his devotion. 13 years, Chu Yifeng corrected. Every day in my dreams has been this day, and every day has been about you. Every word from Chu Yifeng was etched into Su Yingxue's heart. The night was long. Inside the Fictional Pavilion, the temperature steadily rose as their bodies entwined in an intimate embrace, bathed in the glow of the glazed tiles. Tenderness and affection enveloped them. Chapter 776, Su Jinxuan's corpse. The next day, when Su Yingxue returned to the manor, Su Qingji already knew about her visit to the Changxin Marquis manor. Instead of scolding her, he even praised her. Su Yingxue clung to her grandfather's arm, acting playfully. Grandpa, you spoil me so much. I'm going to be completely pampered. Su Qingji looked at her with eyes full of affection. In his heart, he thought, so what if she gets spoiled? His granddaughter deserved all the love in the world. However, his sigh carried a hint of helplessness. Even if I spoil you, I can only do so for a little while longer. Once you marry the 9th prince, I won't have the chance to pamper you. Who says so? Even after I marry, I'll still be your granddaughter. Su Yingxue pretended to be angry. Are you saying that after I marry, you'll only spoil Sister Han and Miao Miao? Su Qingji stroked his beard. That's true. Hainer and Miaoyan still don't have marriage arrangements. Su Yingxue puffed her cheeks. She understood she would soon be married off, and her grandfather would then turn his attention to her cousins. Despite her playful words, there were still responsibilities in the manor to attend to. Su Han saw her coming out of Su Qingzi's room and pulled her aside. She whispered, Su Jinxian is dead. Su Yingxue was slightly surprised. When did it happen? His body was found today. It's already cold. Do you want to see? Su Yingxue nodded and went with her to Su Jinxuan's courtyard. Guards were stationed outside. Su Yingxue and Su Han went inside to examine Su Jinxuan's body. Saint Wan, perhaps bored in the medicine hut, heard about the body and eagerly joined them. Su Yingxue put on her gloves and was about to perform an autopsy on Su Jinxian when Saint Wan smelled the stench in the room. He frowned and said, How long has he been dead to smell this bad? Su Han investigated the courtyard and returned to report to Su Yingxue. Grandfather originally had this courtyard guarded. 2 people were supposed to serve Su Jinxian daily, and Su Wei checked on him regularly. But with all the wedding preparations, no one paid attention to Su Jinxian. Today, someone passing by smelled the strong stench. He came in to investigate, only to find the people guarding Su Jinxian had disappeared as well. Gone. Saint Wan flipped his hair dramatically. They delayed discovering Su Jinxuan's death on purpose. This place was already neglected, so no one noticed when Su Jinxian was quietly killed. Saint Wan clicked his tongue. Someone really hated Su Jinxian. It wasn't a revenge killing, Su Yingxue said seriously after examining the body. Could it be suicide? Someone as ruthless as Su Jinxian wouldn't give up easily. If he couldn't kill you, he'd endure any torture. He wouldn't commit suicide, Saint Wan reasoned. Someone like Su Jinxian would never end his own life easily. Su Han agreed. Su Jinxian was ruthless. If he had any chance of survival, he would have fought desperately. Even in death, he would have plotted against you. Knowing Su Jinxuan's ruthless nature, Su Han understood him well. She remembered what she had learned from Min Jia. His master is Wu Dao. That man is truly terrifying. After finishing the examination, Su Yingxue stood up to wash her hands. She frowned, her expression cold. Su Jinxian was drained of all his blood. Chapter 777, Wedding Eve. So now, Lai looked like a mummy, with every drop of blood drained from his body. The first person Su Yingxue thought of as capable of such an act was Wu Dao. I've never heard of Wu Dao having a penchant for blood consumption. Could this be a disguised punishment from the Silver Moon Pavilion? Saint Juan was curious. He crouched down to take a closer look. Indeed, all the blood has been drained. That was suspicious. There were many ways to kill people. There were all kinds of cruel and torturous methods. But this blood-draining method was unheard of for him. If it's not blood consumption, then it's a disease. Su Yingxue asserted firmly. Wu Dao must have a severe blood-related illness. How do you know? Despite being bound to the Silver Moon Pavilion for so many years, Saint Juan hadn't noticed this. The way Su Jinxian and Su Yuro died is the same. Both were drained of blood. They were just tools for Wu Dao. As things became increasingly bizarre, Su Yingxue seemed to have grasped a clue, but this thread of evidence was not enough to prove anything. If Wu Dao was sick and needed blood, what kind of illness was it? Would he be cured? Su Jinxian was dead, so who was his next target? Was it her? Or someone else from the Su family? This puzzle hung over Su Yingxue's mind like a dense fog, and she continued to ponder it until the day before her wedding. Unfortunately, there was still no news of Wu Dao. Ziwei, who had infiltrated the Silver Moon Pavilion, came back to tell her, Wu Dao is not there. So, is Honglian still in charge of the Silver Moon Pavilion? Ziwei nodded. Yes, she's there, but she won't talk. Although Honglian managed the Silver Moon Pavilion and could barely be called a pavilion master, all her power came from Wu Dao and another East Pavilion master. Beneath them, Honglian was just a puppet. Su Yingxue had tried to ask Chu Yifeng about Honglian's relationship with Wu Dao. Chu Yifeng said that Honglian was not someone Wu Dao would worry about. As for the other East Pavilion master, he wouldn't care whether Honglian lived or died. So she couldn't use Honglian to lure out Wu Dao. But she dared not let Chu Yifeng know that Su Jinxian and Su Yuris' deaths were both at the hands of Wu Dao, and his next target could very well be other members of the Su family. Chu Yifeng was already busy with their wedding preparations, so she decided to wait until after the wedding to tell him about these matters. With these thoughts in mind, Su Miaoyan knocked on the door and entered. She held a flower in her hand and behind her was Lin Cece, who was dressed in armor. Lin Cece exuded an aura of strength, her eyes sparkling with vitality. When she rushed in, she was in high spirits. Dr. Su, congratulations. She clasped her hands together, smiling warmly. Her scarred face was exposed to the sun, but she did not look dispirited at all. She still smiled beautifully. Su Yingxue stood up and hugged Lin Cece. The two of them chatted for a long time. Lin Cece said that her training in the military camp and her little actual combat a few days ago had made her feel especially enlightened. Under Chu Yihan's permission, she had taken the military examination like a man. Now that she had become a great general in the military. If she could achieve military merit in the future, she wanted to become a great general, just like her father and ancestors, defending the country and guarding the borders. When Lin Cece spoke with excitement, she even lifted Su Yingxue. It must be because of your frequent intercession for me that the Ninth Prince has been particularly gracious to me. He has guided me many times in martial arts techniques and military tactics. I want to be his apprentice, but since he doesn't take disciples, I can only continue to address him as Your Highness as usual. Chapter 778, Lovers Get Married. Hey, put my sister down. Only Your Highness can hold her. If Your Highness sees this, all your benefits will disappear. Su Miaoyan kindly reminded Lin Cixi. Lin Cixi trembled in fright and quickly set Su Yingxue down. I was reckless. Your Highness cares about you, I dare not harm you in the slightest. Su Yingxue smiled wryly. I'm not as fragile as porcelain. Why are you treating me like I'm so delicate? Sister Xue, you better be delicate. The other day, your Highness heard you cough once and questioned the servants who attended to you several times. Sister Xinlan was so scared, her clothes were soaked with sweat. Now if General Lin were to hurt you or make you cry, and your Highness saw it, wouldn't he just punish her with military law? It was too terrifying. Lin Cixi shook her head and moved away from Su Yingxue, indicating that she couldn't bear this emotional burden. Why are you running so far away? Come here. I want to ask you, have you seen Ninth Prince lately? This was the only thing Su Yingxue was concerned about when it came to her. She shook off the past gloom, daring to unveil her inner thoughts boldly, living fearlessly under the sunlight. It couldn't be better. But, when it came to Chu Jinling, it was regrettable. Lin Cixi's smile faded a bit. A few days ago, when I was guarding the Xinlan garden, I saw him. He's doing well, composing poetry, painting, writing books, and enjoying the scenery. He seems quite happy. What about you? Su Yingxue asked with concern. I told him that I'm doing well now, so he doesn't need to worry. Tears shimmered in Lin Cixi's eyes. Chu Jinling was the one she always missed. Even though she couldn't be with him now and didn't even have the right status to approach him, she still missed him terribly. Ninth Prince thinks of you every day. In his paintings, there's not a single one without you. Even the kites he flies have your likeness. Su Miaoyan was moved by this. After saying that, she quickly ran back to her room and fetched a kite. She handed it to Lin Cixi. Here, this is the kite Ninth Prince painted while playing in the Xinlan garden. Look, the armor is the same as the one you wear, and even the patterns on the armor are the same, not a single stroke is wrong. Su Miaoyan's smile was sweet. Lin Cixi rubbed her eyes and took the kite. Upon examination, she saw that the kite indeed depicted her. On the kite, she was depicted on the training ground, wielding a long spear with vigor. Chu Jinling's skills in music, chess, calligraphy, and painting were outstanding. The scenes he depicted were vivid and lifelike. As Su Miaoyan said, even the patterns on the armor were perfectly accurate. How is that possible? We were far apart at the time. Could he see so clearly with just one glance and remember it? Lin Cixi found it unbelievable. Apart from the Xinlan garden, where they could have a fleeting glance from afar, they hadn't seen each other for a long time. How could Chu Jinling paint her with such meticulous detail? You haven't seen him, but that doesn't mean he hasn't seen you, right? Su Yingxue teased, indicating that in their hearts, the place for each other had never diminished. He came to the military camp to find me. That's not right. Unauthorized entry into the military camp is not allowed. If he had gone, someone would have reported it. His lightness skill is so poor, if he sneaked in, he would be caught. Lin Cixi muttered to herself, but suddenly someone outside the door murmured, "My lightness skill is not that bad." After visiting the military camp so many times, he had not been discovered. Chapter 779, Dreaming of Her Mother, Who? Lin Cixi agilely leaped out of the door, but no one was in sight. She frowned and returned to the bridal chamber. Strange, I heard a voice. Why isn't anyone here? Could someone be deliberately ambushing in the Marquis manor? No way. I didn't hear anything at all. Su Miaoyan cleverly peeked out and then retreated into the room. She looked innocent. Su Yingxue smirked. She had heard the voice and knew quite well that today Chu Jinling had come to the Marquis Manor under the pretext of conveying a message for Chu Yihan. He had been frequenting the place lately, probably for that brief moment just now. However, when she saw Lin Cici's reaction, she knew that she did not have to say anything more. After all, she couldn't provoke noble consort Xiao. Noble consort Xiao didn't have any principles, but her bottom line couldn't be crossed. Her only bottom line was Chu Jinling. Yingxue had thought that Lin Cici had come to the Marquis Manor to congratulate her on a day off from the military camp, but she didn't expect her to stay directly in the Marquis Manor today. She said it was Chu Yihan's order. Your Highness said, he wants me to personally protect you. Starting tonight until you enter the prince's mansion tomorrow, I must protect you closely. So tonight, I have to guard outside your door. After dinner, Lin Cici stood outside the door with a 9-ringed saber in her arms. Yingxue smirked, is he asking you to be my door deity? Lin Cici was a senior military officer, assigning her to guard the door seemed a bit of a waste, didn't it? She chuckled, who else would come to the Marquis of Marshal South's manor to cause trouble? My grandfather is still in the manor, no one would dare to offend. Who made you mention Wu Dao? Saint Juan's dissatisfied voice came, accompanied by a yawn. Others aside, this guy is something to watch out for. Even Chu Yihan has to guard against him. Until you enter the 9th prince's mansion, we all have to keep an eye on you. Keep an eye on. Yingxue furrowed her brow slightly. It's protection. I provide close combat protection, while this old man prevents anyone from using drugs on you or employing any sneaky tactics. After all, this old man has seen and knows many poisons and methods. Lin Cici explained. Hey, who are you calling an old man? Saint Juan protested. His hands were on hips. Lin Cici snorted, aren't you? You're over 70, calling you an old man is a problem. Even if I'm an old man, I'm a young and handsome one at 18, aren't I tempting enough for you? Saint Juan raised his seductive eyes. Even if you're handsome, you're still an old man. Who would have thoughts about you? Why are you looking at me if you don't have any thoughts? With Saint Juan and Lin Cici bickering outside, Yingxue had no worries about anyone harming her. Plus, Ziwei was in her room. In the dim light, Ziwei leaned quietly against the wall. His eyes with a faint purple hue, illuminating with a glimmer, watching over you. No one could approach her. Yingxue raised her lips slightly. Good. On this peaceful night, she should be able to sleep well. But she unexpectedly dreamed of someone. Her mother. In the dream, her mother's appearance was more distinct than in the portrait. She was wanton and flamboyant. She was wearing a white gown, and her attire was refreshing and neat like she had never seen before. She greeted her with a smile, although it was their first meeting in the dream, she looked familiar. She even gently caressed her face. That warmth that was like a spring breeze made Yingxue cry. Chapter 780. Chu Jinling is no longer a child. There seemed to be a trace of regret in her eyes, as if she was saying, it's a pity that I didn't see you grow up with my own eyes. Mother. Yingxue struggled to wake up from her dream. It was already dawn. The busy figures were reflected in her window. Han brought Su Miaoyan and Xinlan out from behind the screen, saying, Yingxue, it's time to get dressed. Yingxue rubbed her hair. Okay. She knew that on such a grand day today, she had to keep her spirits up. However, she never expected that marriage would be so complicated. She wore several layers of the wedding dress that Chu Yihan gave her, and Han had to help her dress herself. Su Miaoyan, Xinlan, Yifeng, and the others watched from the side. Yifeng exclaimed, this rare phoenix satin is gorgeous. That's right. If Miss Han hadn't seen it in books and knew how to wear this wedding dress, we wouldn't have dared to touch it, afraid of tarnishing this rare treasure. Sister, I'm so envious. Su Miaoyan held her small face, her eyes full of jealousy. Su Yingxue tilted her head helplessly. The dress is beautiful, but wearing it is just too complicated. It made her feel a little breathless. Yingxue, you have to say something auspicious on this big day. Su Han helped her put on her dress and stood in front of her, smoothing the creases of her dress with the strictness and love of an elder sister. Su Yingxue pouted. Wearing this phoenix satin, I will be the most beautiful bride in the entire Great Qing dynasty. Pfft. Sister Shui is not modest at all. Su Miaoyan took the opportunity to tease her. Su Yingxue blinked as a response to her. Modest? Normally, she would have to put on a disguise, but when she didn't want to, she could still be a little more modest. The auspicious time has arrived, the bride is coming out of the room. Outside the door, someone was singing loudly. Su Yingxue walked out of the door with everyone around her. The phoenix satin that only existed in legends dragged more than 3 feet on Su Yingxue's body. How many people had come to witness the exquisite phoenix satin? Su Yingxue walked out of the courtyard. The moment the sun shone on her, the phoenix behind her appeared in front of everyone's eyes. It was so lifelike. As she walked lightly, the phoenix behind her seemed to spread its wings and soar into the heavens. Wow! Su Yingxue could hear the exclamations of the people around her. She even saw noble consort Xiao appear in the crowd. She exchanged a glance with noble consort Xiao and smiled from afar. Dr. Su, watch your step. Lin Cece reminded her. She followed Su Yingxue's gaze and saw the dazzling noble consort Xiao. She was surrounded by stars and remained the epitome of earthly wealth and beauty. However, Chu Jinling was not by her side. Chu Jinling only appeared beside noble consort Xiao after Su Yingxue walked out of the courtyard. He held noble consort Xiao's arm and acted coquettishly. Mother, why are you here? You have to watch the ceremony at Imperial Uncle's 9th Prince Mansion. I'm here to help you take a look at the person you like. You haven't seen each other for so long. Miss Lin seems to have become more burly. Noble consort Xiao had a faint smile on her face. She predicted that Chu Jinling would make a ruckus to go up and take a look. Otherwise, he would be angry with her and blame her for being ruthless as a mother, insisting on separating him and the lady he loved. But unexpectedly, Chu Jinling still had a cool and handsome smile on his face. I think Mother is just coveting Auntie's wedding dress, phoenix satin. You have everything you want, but this phoenix satin is something that you can't exchange for even if you use all your wealth. Chapter 781. Eliminate Noble Consort Xiao's suspicion. Noble Consort Xiao raised her eyebrows. Mother mentioned Miss Lin to you. Do you truly not miss her? If I missed her, Mother wouldn't marry her to me, so why would I keep missing her? Mother, missing someone is very painful. I don't want to suffer all the time. You know, I'm someone who can't endure hardship. Chu Jinling leaned against noble consort Xiao, his demeanor revealing a hint of delicacy. Noble consort Xiao's eyes flashed with surprise, then with delight. After Chu Jinling escorted her into the carriage, he was off to accompany his imperial uncle for the ancestral ceremony. Noble consort Xiao, reclining in the luxurious carriage, narrowed her beautiful eyes slightly. Granny Song, do you think Linger has truly forgotten Lin Cece, or is he still pretending? Granny Song, who had been by noble consort Xiao's side, observed Chu Jinling's expression. The 9th prince doesn't seem to be pretending. He has always acted like a child in front of your majesty. Noble consort Xiao snorted softly. I treat him as a child, but he's no longer one. He was already an adult man. Are you suggesting that the ninth prince deliberately deceived you? But what was his motive? The ninth prince isn't as far-sighted as his uncle. Everyone around him is under your command, reporting his every move. He's always obedient in front of you. Granny Song harbored no doubts about Chu Jinling, unaware of noble consort Xiao's suspicions. Noble consort Xiao lightly brushed her beautiful nails past the corner of her eyes. If Linger remains obedient for the rest of his life, then I'll plan for him for the rest of his life. In short, this Lin Cece, claiming to be tainted, can never get close to him again. No one could tarnish her precious son. But if her son was happy, she wouldn't have to worry. Granny Song, go and dismiss the people around Lin Cece. If Linger no longer pays her any attention, then I needn't bother about her anymore. Noble consort Xiao gently closed her eyes to rest, emanating an aura of unattainable nobility. Granny Song complied and departed. Her actions were detected by the shadow guards monitoring her. The shadow guard returned to Chu Jinling's side and reported the matter. Chu Jinling nodded. I understand. Chu Jinling approached Chu Yihan and saw him in a bright red wedding robe, looking vibrant. Imperial uncle, you truly look dashing today. No one could compare to him. Mo Chi stood beside Chu Yihan and looked at Chu Jinling with a hint of surprise. Ninth Prince, you've been hiding well. By coaxing the noble consort, you can easily visit General Lin in the future. Chu Jinling waved dismissively. It's nothing special. I grew up by my imperial uncle's side, how could I lack such abilities? Wouldn't that embarrass my imperial uncle? If it were any other time, Chu Yihan's reaction would have been to disdainfully throw Chu Jinling a glance and then deny any association with the matter. After all, he never engaged in the antics of the younger generation, so he wouldn't have sent shadow guards for him to use. But today, in his great joy, he rarely praised Chu Jinling, saying, wait until you marry Lin Cece before saying such things. Before marrying her, it was still embarrassing for him. Chu Jinling's expression immediately fell. Imperial uncle, your expectations are too high. Being your nephew was truly difficult. Chu Yihan paid no mind and went out to welcome Su Yingxue. Chapter 782. I'm not in a rush to get in bed. This grand wedding was recorded in the annals of the great Qing dynasty. It caused an unprecedented sensation and shocked future generations. Worshipping the heavens, entering the ancestral hall, praying to the gods, every ceremony unfolded under the gaze of all. The people paid their respects with dignity and solemnity. In the evening, Su Yingxue was led into the ninth prince's mansion. With a veil over her head, all Su Yingxue could see were the red carpet and petals beneath her feet. The noise around her was incessant, but being deprived of sight for a whole day felt unpleasant. She couldn't help but want to take another glance outside. In the end, she lost her balance and almost fell. Be careful. A deep, powerful voice reached her ears. Su Yingxue's hand was held by him, and she stood firmly. Chu Yihan's hand emanated a reassuring warmth, calming Su Yingxue's drifting thoughts. She blinked and murmured, Your Highness. By protocol, he could only hold her hand with a red silk. She hadn't even been able to see his face for the entire day, and now, he had finally held her hand. Su Yingxue was relieved. Su Yingxue's heart raced. Your Highness, how much longer? What? How much longer until it's over and we can retire to the bridal chamber? After a day of weariness and soreness, she longed for relief. Chu Yihan's low chuckle filled the air. Are you that eager? Ha! Su Yingxue's mind was still foggy. Is it urgent? She was truly exhausted and just wanted to rest. Don't rush, I'll have the master of ceremonies expedite things. In Chu Yihan's subdued voice, there was a hint of teasing laughter. As he let go of her hand, and the cold wind hit her when Su Yingxue was holding the red silk, she suddenly realized and exclaimed loudly, "Your Highness, I'm not in a hurry for intimacy." She wanted to rest. Unfortunately, her outburst was heard by Chu Yihan and those around her. The atmosphere froze. Su Han blushed, pulling at her sleeve. "Yingxue, show some decorum." Su Miaoyan stifled her laughter. "Sister, it's not even dark yet. Auntie, you and Imperial Uncle will have plenty of time. No need to rush." Chu Jinling muttered. "Can't she be anxious? You guys are too naive." Saint Juan's words were cheeky. Su Yingxue's face turned crimson. What did she just say? Shan Bao's roar silenced the room. It circled Su Yingxue protectively. Those who had been laughing earlier were now petrified. Su Yingxue's lips curled into a smile as she reached out from under her veil and gently stroked Shan Bao's head as it nudged in. Shan Bao glanced at her, its eyes proud and disdainful. Yet, it walked with steady steps, guarding Su Yingxue to the wedding hall, and there was no laughter to be heard again. Shan Bao resolved to protect her for the rest of her life. Chu Yihan led Su Yingxue to the wedding hall, where the master of ceremonies began calling out loudly. Inside, portraits of the late emperor and consort Xu were displayed. They appeared loving and harmonious, even in the paintings, evoking envy. Chu Yihan removed the red silk and held Su Yingxue's hand, whispering in her ear, "After this ceremony, you'll be my rightful wife." Though Su Yingxue couldn't see, she could feel the warmth of his palm and the pulsing of his heartbeat. She shyly replied, "Yes." Chapter 783, Who could get close to Su Yingxue? First bow to the heaven and earth. Second bow to the ancestral hall. The couple bows to each other. The ritual is complete. After that shout, Su Yingxue's hand was tightly held by Chu Yihan. Their fingers intertwined, clasping into each other's palms. Su Yingxue was also overwhelmed with emotions. The upcoming wedding banquet was a period they both had to deal with separately. Before letting Su Yingxue go to the bridal chamber, Chu Yihan insisted, "Call me." "What?" Su Yingxue blushed. She pretended to be ignorant. "Call me hubby." Chu Yihan's voice was as gentle and magnetic as a heavenly melody, stirring hearts. "No. I'll call you that when we're in the bridal chamber. Not now. I don't want to call you that in front of so many people." "All right." Chu Yihan leaned closer to her. He happily agreed. Su Yingxue was filled with shyness. Although she didn't call out hubby in front of Chu Yihan, her heart was already shouting it out loud. "Hubby. Hubby. Hubby. What are you doing here?" Just as Su Yingxue had been deeply moved, Su Miaoyan's scolding voice interrupted her. Ahead, Lin Sisi and Su Miaoyan, who had been guiding her, stopped. Su Han, who had been supporting her, also halted. She could only see that the path seemed to be blocked by someone kneeling on the ground. She frowned and asked, "Su Han, what's going on?" Su Han gently patted her hand, comforting, "It's Yizhenjin, don't worry, I'm here." This was the 9th prince's mansion. Even if Yizhenjin, as the daughter of Marquis Changxin, had managed to sneak in, she wouldn't dare to cause trouble. Otherwise, she would be dragging her whole family into doom. Yizhenjin. Su Yingxue raised her eyebrows. She was surprised that Yizhenjin hadn't been sent to the nunnery yet and was causing a scene at the 9th prince's mansion. In the distance, on the highest attic, 2 figures stood. Hong Lian stood beside Wu Dao, her red dress fluttering in the night breeze. She was full of anger and unwillingness. Pavilion Master, unfortunately, Chu Yihan's defenses were too tight. We couldn't even get close to Su Yingxue, let alone obtain her blood. Wu Dao still draped himself in a black robe, covering himself from head to toe. His voice carried a hint of bloodthirsty excitement. We can't, but someone can. Hong Lian was puzzled. Who? She could see from here that Su Yingxue was surrounded by skilled individuals, with Lin Cixi and Saint Wan among them. Ziwei had also been covertly vigilant in protecting her. Their people couldn't even get close to Su Yingxue. Hee hee. Wu Dao let out a chilling, sinister laugh. Hong Lian focused and saw a woman blocking Su Yingxue's path. Could it be Yizhenjin? Even if she got close to Su Yingxue, what could she do? At that moment, in front of Su Yingxue, Yizhenjin knelt on the ground, covering her face in tears. Sister Yingxue, my disrespect towards you before and my schemes against Ninth Prince were all my fault. I realize my mistakes now. On your wedding day, I kneel to apologize to you. I hope you can forgive me, sister. Forgive you? On what grounds? Weren't you arrogant before, trying to snatch Ninth Prince's favor from Sister Shui? You even shamelessly claimed that your highness liked you. And now you come begging for forgiveness. Su Miaoyan pouted. She rushed forward and slapped Yizhenjin's face. I was young and ignorant at that time, causing a huge disaster, not only to myself but also to my family. I beg Sister Yingxue not to hold a grudge and give me a chance to start anew. Chapter 784, Bridal Chamber. Yizhenjin was crying her eyes out. Even though Su Miaoyan had humiliated her, she did not retort. Instead, she extended her hands towards Su Yingxue in a humble manner. Yingxue, let me help you into the bridal chamber first. Leave this to Miao Miao and Miss Lin, Su Han said, patting Su Yingxue's hand. She wanted to maintain Su Yingxue's good mood on her wedding day. However, Su Yingxue did not move. Cousin, there's no need. I want to see how she'll beg for my forgiveness. Accompanied by Su Han, Su Yingxue walked to Yizhenjin and said in a calm tone, Yizhenjin, who asked you to come to me for forgiveness? Your mother. Or are you begging me not to go to the nunnery? She knew how ambitious Yizhenjin was. It wasn't easy for her to come and beg for forgiveness now. Yizhenjin's eyes darkened as she sobbed softly. Sister, it's all my fault. I don't want to go to the nunnery. My mother is currently in the manor and is no longer favored by my father. Sister, please forgive my mother and me, and let us live a good life in the Marquis manor. We're blood relatives after all. After she finished speaking, she kowtowed to Su Yingxue with all her might. Su Yingxue's lips curled up coldly. You weren't like this when you were clinging on to your highness previously. Previously. I was possessed. Please be magnanimous and don't argue with people like me. Yizhenjin kowtowed in front of Su Yingxue as if she did not care about his dignity. Su Yingxue could see that her originally unremarkable face was already covered in blood. She said, I heard that the young master of the Prime Minister's estate has already broken off the engagement with you. You can't keep your position as the county lord anymore. In the Changxin Marquis manor, the status of you and your mother has plummeted, right? Yes. Yizhenjin gritted her teeth with tears in her eyes. Is this the reason why you are begging me? Yizhenjin knelt obediently and reached out her hand to Su Yingxue. I hope that you can forgive me. Please forgive me. Her eyes were filled with desire. How she wished that Su Yingxue would be like a savior and help her up. As she wished, Su Yingxue helped her up. However, what she said was, I won't forgive you. You and your mother must suffer the consequences of your actions. She emphasized the last sentence. It was as if she was judging Yizhenjin. Yizhenjin was dragged away in a sorry state. Along the way, many people pointed at her and scolded her. Even her father, Marquis Changxin, found her embarrassing. When she was thrown out of the ninth prince's mansion, no one cared about her. There were only a few pedestrians on the quiet street except for Yizhenjin. Yizhenjin wiped her face and stood up. She looked at the red carpet that was laid out for Su Yingxue and smiled proudly. Her eyes were filled with viciousness after she had succeeded. She was like a dog baring its fangs in the dark. Su Yingxue, go to hell. Those who did not give her a way out must be buried with her. Su Yingxue was sent to the bridal chamber. She had only taken a few steps when she started to feel dizzy. When she was helping Yizhenjin up, she felt a slight pain. However, she did not say anything because she did not want to attract too much attention. She sat on the bed and looked down at her hands. There was a needle mark in her palm, and blood was oozing out. It was a small dot of red, but it enlarged infinitely in front of her eyes, turning into a bloody hole. I'm so dizzy, Before Su Yingxue lost consciousness, she could not make a sound. Chapter 785, Su Yingxue is at Silver Moon Pavilion. After Chu Yifeng finished entertaining everyone, he pushed open the door of the bridal chamber amidst the laughter of the crowd. Su Miaoyan shouted from outside, Sister Shui, Your Highness is here. He thought it was a gorgeous bridal chamber with red candles and a soft fragrance, but when he pushed open the door, there was no one. Chu Yifeng's expression froze. He rushed into the bridal chamber and saw the spacious bridal bed, which was spotless. Su Yingxue. She was nowhere to be found. Why isn't my imperial aunt here? Could she be so impatient that she went out to find imperial uncle? Chu Jinling wondered aloud. He knew well that for this wedding night, he didn't even dare to drink with his imperial uncle, and he didn't let Chu Yifeng wait outside for long. Why couldn't Su Yingxue wait any longer? After Yingxue entered the bridal chamber, we all left. No one should be able to barge in here, Su Han murmured. Her elegant brows lightly furrowed with a sense of unease. Su Yingxue understood propriety. She wouldn't be someone to roam about on her wedding night. She knew that Chu Yifeng had put in a lot of effort for this wedding. She would wait for him here. But why was she gone? Su Miaoyan walked to the bed and looked around. When she came back, she pouted and muttered, could it be that Sister Shui got hungry and went to the kitchen to find something to eat? She hasn't had a chance to eat all day. Suddenly, a thought crossed Su Miaoyan's mind. Chu Yifeng stood by the small table, his noble brows deeply furrowed. I've prepared everything for her. He had considered this, ensuring that the bridal chamber contained everything she desired. She had no reason to leave. Saint Juan. Chu Yifeng's voice boomed. A red figure drifted in with Lin Cece. The two quarreled and cursed until they entered the bridal chamber, where they felt the solemn atmosphere. You damn old man, if you dare, fight me fair and square without using poison. TSK. Why don't you put down your sword first? Saint Juan and Lin Cece were bickering as they entered the bridal chamber, only to feel the solemn atmosphere inside. They released each other's grip simultaneously. Under Chu Yifeng's pressure, Lin Cece took a deep breath. Your Highness. What has happened? Where's Su Yingxue? Why isn't she in the bridal chamber? Saint Juan noticed something strange. As soon as he spoke, the atmosphere in the room instantly became heavy. Everyone felt suffocated. They had to face a harsh reality. On the joyous day of Chu Yifeng and Su Yingxue's union, Su Yingxue was missing. Inside the Silver Moon Pavilion, a woman in a phoenix wedding dress stood out prominently amidst the eerie surroundings, her sleeping form suffocatingly beautiful. Clad in attire of the same color and equally enchanting, Hong Lian appeared vulgar and wicked in Su Yingxue's presence. The intense red at the corners of her eyes accentuated her cold, bloodthirsty gaze. Hong Lian glanced respectfully at the hooded man behind her and whispered, "Pavilion Master, Su Yingxue has arrived. Please allow me to draw blood for you." In this world, if there was anyone who could make Su Yingxue walk into Chu Yihan's tightly guarded trap, it was none other than Wu Dao. Wu Dao's body was covered in a black robe from head to toe. He was as secretive as the silver moon pavilion. His sickly hoarse voice was heavy. He glanced at the figure on the ground and turned to wait in the attic. Although she wasn't Long Shuli, his heart would still beat when he looked at that face that looked exactly like hers. How despicable. As Wu Dao left, Hong Lian's true nature was revealed. Chapter 786. If you don't wake up, you'll die. She squatted beside Su Yingxue, her eyes vicious. Su Yingxue, you will also fall into my hands one day. Her actions were swift and decisive as she stripped off Su Yingxue's wedding dress. Holding the dress in her hands, Hong Lian's eyes burned with jealousy. Su Yingxue, do you think you're worthy to marry your highness? Your highness fought on the battlefield, treasured the phoenix satin for 10 years, and bestowed it upon you. The gods were truly unfair. Hong Lian tossed the wedding dress aside, and she drew the dagger from her waist, poised to slash at Su Yingxue's face. What are you doing? Wu Dao's sickly hoarse voice berated her sternly. Hong Lian trembled in fear. Half kneeling on the ground, she lowered her head. I'm drawing her blood for you. But what she aimed to cut wasn't Su Yingxue's wrist. It was her face. She aimed to disfigure that beautiful yet detestable face. Whether Wu Dao noticed her intention remained unknown. Hong Lian knew of Wu Dao's abnormal feelings towards Su Yingxue's mother but was unaware of his sentiments towards Su Yingxue herself. Retreat. Wu Dao dismissed Hong Lian. With unwillingness in her eyes, Hong Lian had no choice but to retreat to the side. Wu Dao gently caressed Su Yingxue's beautiful face, a hint of nostalgia flickering in his eyes. But it was fleeting. Soon, he withdrew a syringe to draw Su Yingxue's blood. It hurts. Su Yingxue could sense the pain coursing through her body, but no matter how hard she struggled, she couldn't awaken. It felt so heavy. Su Yingxue, wake up. Silly girl, wake up. If you don't, your blood will be drained dry. I can't wake up. I can't move. Su Yingxue retained a sliver of consciousness. She heard little Ginseng's anxious pleas, but her body remained immobile. It's over. Your blood has been drained dry. Su Yingxue, wake up. This is the blood coagulation pill. If Su Yingxue's consciousness wrestled amidst the chaos as if weighed down by a colossal rock. Pavilion Master, the blood has been drained. Please allow me to deal with the corpse. Observing Su Yingxue's lifeless form, Hong Lian's lips curved into a prideful smirk. Dispose of her into the sea. Wu Dao cradled the bags of blood as if they were precious treasures, commanding Hong Lian coldly. With Wu Dao's watchful gaze upon her, Hong Lian dared not disobey. She handed Su Yingxue's corpse to her subordinate. As she watched the carriage depart, a semblance of reluctance lingered in her heart, yet her eyes betrayed a sense of satisfaction. Su Yingxue, you've become naught but a corpse. What does it matter how powerful you once were? Marry the 9th prince. To become the most esteemed woman in all the land. Dream on. Wu Dao's dose of medicine allowed her to walk out of the 9th prince's mansion on her own, catching everyone off guard. By the time the people of 9th prince's mansion reacted, even Su Yingxue's corpse couldn't be found. As Wu Dao departed, he instructed Hong Lian, leave no trace. Let's go. Yes. Hong Lian bowed respectfully. Upon Wu Dao's departure, Hong Lian set Silver Moon Pavilion ablaze and departed Jiangdu under the cloak of night. The assassin beside her reported, Master, number 1 has caught up. Our forces have been decimated by him. Hong Lian's lips curled into a scornful smile. Lure him back to Silver Moon Pavilion and incinerate him. Let him taste the consequences of betraying Silver Moon Pavilion. Once a loyal assistant for the Silver Moon Pavilion, Ziwei was still a useful tool. But he chose to protect Su Yingxue. Chapter 787. Su Yingxue was rescued. Su Yingxue was already dead, so Ziwei should be buried with her. When Ziwei rushed into the Silver Moon Pavilion, it was already engulfed in flames, yet he could still catch a whiff of Su Yingxue's scent. Even though he knew she was dead, he was determined to enter. However, he found no trace of Su Yingxue. Despite scouring the entire Silver Moon Pavilion, all he discovered was her wedding dress. The wedding dress, crafted from the incredibly precious phoenix satin, had been singed at one corner by the fierce flames. Ziwei tucked the wedding dress into his arms and searched desperately amidst the inferno. Even if Su Yingxue had turned into a corpse, he vowed to remain by her side. Idiot! Su Yingxue! Wake up! Move! Su Yingxue! If you don't wake up, you'll truly be dead. The childlike voice echoed incessantly in Su Yingxue's mind. She struggled fiercely and finally, with a faint consciousness, she entered the Medicine King Valley. As she looked up, she saw little Ginseng lying on the grass, appearing weak. What's wrong with me? Su Yingxue crawled heavily toward little Ginseng while rubbing her head. Little Ginseng lay pitifully amidst the herbs. Why did you do that? You wasted my whiskers again. Su Yingxue, without me, you'd be dead, do you understand? Su Yingxue's expression turned grave. She had never experienced such helplessness before. She had no strength in her body, and even the slight consciousness she had upon waking up was brought forth by little Ginseng's clamor. What had happened to her? What's wrong with you? Why did you run out, only to end up in front of him and let him drain your blood? Little Ginseng endured the pain and plucked its whiskers to save Su Yingxue. It was feeling rather uncomfortable now. Drain my blood. I ran out by myself. That's impossible. Su Yingxue tried hard to recall. After helping Yizhenjin, she seemed to have lost control of herself and then fainted. She was already very sensitive to drugs, but what exactly did Yizhenjin let into her body? She was completely out of control. She was even drained of blood by Wu Dao. Su Yingxue furrowed her brows. Other than Wu Dao, no one else desired her blood. Just like Su Yuro and Su Jinxian. And he even manipulated Yizhenjin. What exquisite cunning, what potent medicine. Little Ginseng had saved her life with its whiskers, so she had to revive herself as soon as possible. By concocting medicine and taking it in the Medicine King Valley, Su Yingxue managed to evade surveillance. Her body was tossed into the sea. Cough cough. Her body, drained of blood, had no strength to struggle. It could only stay afloat under little Ginseng's protection. But not long after she drifted into the sea, she was scooped up by someone. In the dark cabin, she heard the voices of two men conversing. Master, she's already drained. I doubt she'll not survive. Oh. Try to save her again. Yes, Master. Su Yingxue had been in the Medicine King Valley all this time, feeling doctors come to treat and nurse her. After countless days and nights, her body gradually recovered. She slept in the dim cabin and could hear the voices of the two men conversing every day. The man referred to as Master had a lazy tone but exuded an air of authority. Thump. It seemed the boat had docked. A glimmer of light appeared before Su Yingxue's eyes. It was the man who usually visited her. Yet she could sense that only one person had come today. She couldn't discern the man's face. She only heard him say, "Master said, since you're awake, don't waste his efforts. Show him what you're capable of." Chapter 788, Chu Yifeng Ability. Su Yingxue sat up and felt dizzy. After lying in bed for so many days, she managed to save her life. Fortunately, her life was saved. With a daily regimen of light meals and prolonged confinement in darkness, her voice was somewhat hoarse as she spoke. "Who is your master? Where am I?" She had a hunch that she was now far from Jiangdu City. "These details are better left for you to learn from my master when you're able to see him alive." This person was quite rule-abiding. He refrained from uttering another word. He brought Su Yingxue out of the cabin and onto the shore. He pointed out a path for her to walk up on her own. Su Yingxue stood on the shore and looked out. The place where she came from by boat was the vast sea, and the road that was given to her was a towering mountain. Stretching into the clouds, the stairs seemed to have no end in sight. Hong had already departed. He took the cargo brought on the ship and ascended the mountain path. He looked behind him. Su Yingxue had gradually turned into a small figure. She had not moved, as if she could not walk. He walked to a carriage and whispered, "Master, that lady hasn't budged yet. I fear she may not withstand the rough journey." The man in the carriage appeared nonchalant and languid. As the carriage curtain swayed, only half of his exquisitely refined face was visible. "If she can ascend, then let her. If not, then let her perish. Leave her be." Hong suddenly felt a twinge of sympathy for Su Yingxue. However, considering his master's cold-hearted demeanor, he refrained from further comment and joined another carriage. Their mode of transport wasn't conventional. It utilized power ropes, effortlessly ascending the mountain. Even Su Yingxue at the mountain's base noticed this. These mechanisms were unfamiliar to her, yet she recognized their ingenuity. Both in design and material, they were rare sights in her era. Suddenly, thoughts of her mother crossed her mind. Her mother wasn't the only one who had ventured into this era. There was also Wu Dao, Han Yuan. Now, she had likely encountered another extraordinary figure from a different era, right? If one hadn't seen such phenomena before, it would indeed be peculiar. Su Yingxue had encountered many such instances, thus they no longer surprised her. However, with her current weakened state, climbing thousands of steps unaided was impossible. The little ginseng had fallen into a deep slumber again to save her, and she couldn't betray its kindness. Su Yingxue looked at the rope that was set up along the mountain and then looked at the nearby forest. She turned around and went into the forest. An hour later, Hong and his master reached the mountain summit and returned to Yingxue City. In the city, there was a tall hexagonal tower that overlooked the entire city. Beneath the majestic tower, the silver moon pavilion sign gleamed prominently. As Hong was about to assist his master out of the carriage, a clear, ethereal voice cut through the air. "Where is she?" Behind him, a woman dressed in snow-white clothes floated in the air. Her entire body could only be described as snow-white. Her skin was as white as snow and her features as delicate as those of a celestial from heaven. Hong immediately bowed respectfully. "Princess Sheng, the lady is still at the mountain's base. Master instructed her to ascend on her own, hence we didn't bring her along." Compared to the concise response given to Su Yingxue, Hong's words to Rong were more extensive. After all, the extent of one's speech depended on their status. Upon hearing this, Rong frowned. Chu Yifeng. Chapter 789, His Love, Her Coldness, here. The man jumped down from the carriage. Aside from the brocade robe, a purple cloak draped unevenly over him, revealing his long legs and narrow waist. He didn't reveal anything, yet exuded a hint of sexiness. The man's every move oozed sex appeal. Chu Yifeng walked up to Rong without hiding the admiration in his eyes. "Senior sister, calling me so eagerly, how much do you miss me?" As usual, Rong filtered out his dirty words and reprimanded him. "Yingxue hasn't healed from her injuries. How do you expect her to come up alone? Getting injured was her stupidity, and not being able to come up is her incompetence. Why bother with so much? Senior sister, I brought you a lot of things this time. See if there's anything you like." Chu Yifeng hooked his arm around Rong waist and entered the Silver Moon Pavilion. It wasn't that Rong had never struggled before, but she didn't know martial arts. In front of Chu Yifeng, she could only let him do as he pleased. He rode the automatic ladder up and down to the top floor. Rong looked at Chu Yifeng coldly. "If anything happens to Yingxue, I won't forgive you. Neither will your brother." Chu Yifeng nonchalantly shrugged. "What does it have to do with me whether he forgives or not? I only care about you." He pulled Rong into his arms again. Ignoring Rong resistance, he brought her into the room, onto the bed, and pulled the curtains. Only the man's deep growl could be heard from the floating green gauze curtain. The woman bit her lip tightly and didn't make a sound. Every time she had intimacy with him, it was torture. Rong endured until the torture was over. She got up and went to the bathroom to wash herself clean. She put on a white dress and became an unattainable fairy again. She walked to the corridor to get some fresh air. From afar, she saw a beautiful figure appear. The sun was setting in the west. Although they were far away, Yingxue still recognized her at a glance when the light landed on her. She looked exactly like her senior sister. A smile appeared on her face as she hurried to welcome Yingxue. A hand wrapped around her waist and pressed her into his embrace. The man's voice was sexy and lazy after he was satisfied. "You're so cold to me, but you're in a hurry to see her." Chu Yifeng, let go. Rong eyes were cold and emotionless. "No." Chu Yifeng saw Yingxue moving towards the city, and Rong eyes were filled with impatience. He immediately ordered Ah Hong, "Throw her to the back of the mountain." Ah Hong widened his eyes and hesitated for a moment. "Master wants her to participate in this trial. There are 99 people, and only one can survive. If she doesn't survive," Hong wondered how he should explain this to Rong "Chu Yifeng, are you crazy? You lunatic, Yingxue can't die," Rong said loudly. "She's already a dead person now. It won't be so easy for her to live again." Chu Yifeng looked lazy and sexy, but there was a hint of coldness and bloodlust hidden in his eyes. He took Rong away and locked her in the room. He waved his hand to let Ah Hong carry out the order. Yingxue had finally climbed up the mountain and entered this unfamiliar city. However, she was inexplicably captured and thrown into another mountain. When she woke up, she was surrounded by crying ladies. She found a blood tonic that she had made for herself in the Medicine King Valley. After taking it, she recovered her strength and pulled a girl over to ask, "Do you know where this is? Why are we here?" Chapter 790, East Pavilion Master's Trial. The girl she grabbed was named Ah Jing. She appeared to be 13 or 14 years old and was thin as a rail. She stubbornly held back tears, hence her eyes sparkled. She said, "This is the back mountain of the Silver Moon Pavilion." Yingxue was puzzled. Silver Moon Pavilion. Back mountain. Wu Dao had killed her, so why was she thrown into the back mountain? "Sister, why are you here?" Ah Jing asked curiously. In such a harsh environment, the first person to initiate a conversation with her made her inexplicably fond of them. Su Yingxue was about to respond, but she didn't know why she had been captured. A group of people emerged from the valley. The leader, dressed in a dark red brocade robe, proclaimed loudly, "You are all slaves and refugees banished from various places. You should have died long ago, or perhaps you have already died. However, the master will not grant so many people the chance to live for free. Among the 99 of you, only one will survive. Only one. Wairi? What are we supposed to do?" The women trapped in the mountain voiced various questions, with the timid ones having already hoarse-ned their throats from crying. Amidst their cries, Hong announced the rules. In the back mountain, there are countless ferocious beasts, but there is also hidden food and water. However, this sustenance can only support one person's survival. 7 days later, I will return to open the valley. The survivor will be escorted out by me, and the master will grant them a new life. Over these 7 days, your fate and abilities will determine your survival. Hey! Su Yingxue called out hastily, "Who is your master? Is it the East Pavilion master?" Hong paused, recalling Rong Xing's concern for Su Yingxue. Reluctantly, he turned back to her and grunted in confirmation. Su Yingxue raised an eyebrow. "As I suspected. It wasn't Wu Dao. It was that, even more mysterious East Pavilion master. Wu Dao's adopted son." Chu Yifeng had mentioned this person to her before. He was volatile and completely different from Wu Dao. Just based on his actions, Su Yingxue knew he was also a lunatic. Of the 99, only one could survive. Could someone who survived such vicious battles still be called human? The East Pavilion master intended to forge a formidable individual. "I want to live. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Where's the food? I'm so hungry. I need to eat first." After Hong left, the female slaves began struggling and fighting over food. They were all people who had clawed back a life, living at the lowest rung of society. Being alive was their sole motivation. Jing also wanted to snatch food. Seeing Su Yingxue still frozen in place, she ran back to pull her, saying, "Hurry and grab some. If the food we can find here is taken away, we'll starve. We still have 7 days. Every extra day alive counts." Su Yingxue considered carefully and grabbed her hand. This way of fighting for food won't lead to survival. The battles among the 99 had been filled with slaughter for the past 7 days. Jing bit her lip. "But if we don't snatch it, we might not even last a day. We might even get killed. To survive, one had to fight. Even if it was just for a day, an hour, or even half an hour." Su Yingxue shook her head. "There's no need. I have a plan. Everyone can make it out alive." "What plan?" Jing's eyes brimmed with curiosity. She felt that despite Su Yingxue's lingering illness, she exuded a reassuring presence. Chapter 791, A Conspiracy Wu Dao. Su Yingxue rushed to the highest boulder and shouted, "Those who want to survive, stop." The female slaves who were frantically searching for food and fighting initially paid no attention. It wasn't until she brandished the red jade soft whip with a crack sound, leaving a resounding echo, that it whipped through the air and left a deep mark on the mountain rock. The female slaves were all stunned by the display of strength and authority. They were all people who had survived on the edge of life and death. They more or less had some survival skills, and they were people who would do anything to survive. Yet, they were all awed by Su Yingxue's authority. Although Su Yingxue's figure was slender, her face devoid of color, pale to the point of translucence, her words carried an unwavering forcefulness. "Instead of fighting like this and only one person survives, why don't we work together and let everyone survive? You make it sound simple. There's only enough food in the forest for one person, and what about the wild beasts? How will we survive? Someone immediately countered. Yeah, you just want to be the lone survivor and let the rest of us die here. Those who had made it here were all selfish and fearless, driven solely by the desire to live. The forest's food may only sustain one person, but aren't there enough wild beasts in the forest for multiple people to share? If we hold out for 7 days, everyone can make it out alive. Continuing to fight is akin to living in purgatory. How do you intend to survive? Su Yingxue's questioning pierced straight into their souls. How to survive? These individuals, who had narrowly escaped death, had never been allowed to choose how to live. But now, Su Yingxue had presented them with that chance. Rong Sheng had endured a night of torment. When she awoke, her lips were already bruised from biting. As usual, she cleaned herself before returning to the bed. With a cold, otherworldly beauty, she declared, I want to see Su Yingxue. The morning sunlight streamed in, illuminating the naked man on the bed. His muscular chest and smooth muscles exuded strength. Lazily reclining with his hands behind his head, he presented a captivating sight. His tone was lazy as he responded, What's there to see about Su Yingxue? Was Su Yingxue more appealing to him? Was her body more appealing to him? Rong Sheng had no interest in his body whatsoever. Each time such a situation arose, it was torture for her. She only wished for it to end, feeling nothing more. She left Chu Yifeng with a cold back. She stated, Su Yingxue needs time to recover. If you want to train in a place like the back mountain, you should wait until she's better. Let her out first, and let me heal her. Tisk. The man sat up on the bed, still naked, with a few strands of hair falling across his chest. His lazy, sexy demeanor accompanied his low voice. Since when did senior sister become so soft-hearted? When you threw me in, you weren't concerned about my injuries. At that time, he had lost an arm and was on the brink of death, far worse off than Su Yingxue. But Rong Sheng had never worried about him. However, when he survived and climbed out of the back mountain, she glanced at him coldly. Consider yourself lucky. She was cold and merciless. Now, she was worried about Su Yingxue. Senior sister, I'm jealous. He enveloped Rong Sheng in his arms, his naked body pressing against her, lazily nuzzling her neck. His heavy breath engulfed her. Rong Sheng sank into her memories, her heart freezing. That year, Chu Yifeng was thrown into the back mountain. To fulfill Wu Dao's training, if he didn't survive, Wu Dao would kill him. She couldn't save him, only watch helplessly. Every day he spent there was endless torment for her. Finally, she managed to endure and see him. But she feared that her tears would extinguish the fighting spirit he had cultivated so painstakingly. The will to survive. So she pretended to be cold, offering no comfort in saying those words to him. Rong Sheng closed her eyes, banishing irrelevant thoughts from her mind. Chu Yifeng, stop joking. If she dies, our plan will fail. If we can't kill Wu Dao, we'll all die. Wu Dao would eventually realize that Chu Yifeng didn't possess the soul he desired. He was simply Chu Yifeng. Unlike Han Yuan, who obediently followed Wu Dao's orders, she had always desired to kill this person and end the world's evil. Just like her senior sister, Long Shuli. When Wu Dao realized that Bailing City wasn't completely under his control, she, who had transmigrated into Princess Bailing's body, would surely meet her end. Chapter 792, Pathless Conspiracy. Rong Sheng's fate would be the same as Long Shul's. Chu Yifeng's lips curled into an evil smile, resembling the most sinister demon from the depths of hell. If he found out, at most, he killed others. I helped him seize control of the world and secure your life. Keeping you imprisoned is perfectly justified. Chu Yifeng, how dare you? Rong Xing's eyes gleamed with a coldness akin to sharp blades. Chu Yifeng kissed her lips and chuckled. You can't harm me now, senior sister. You're the only one I desire. It must be you. Why me? Rong Xing gritted her teeth. There were countless women in the world, and in Yingxue city, there were enough admirers of Chu Yifeng to encircle the city. Why lock only me up here? She sneered. Because I love you, senior sister. Chu Yifeng laughed coldly. The words sounded warm, but coming from him, they were desolate and bloodthirsty, like the words of a demon. Rong Sheng took a deep breath, bracing herself. After enduring Chu Yifeng's torment for so long, she had grown accustomed to his madness. Lunatic, she scoffed. Chu Yifeng wrapped his arm around her slender waist and shrugged. I'm just a lunatic who's crazy about you. Rong Xing's name had long been etched in his heart. Unfortunately, she didn't believe him. Chu Yifeng shook his head, grabbed his cloak, and left. In the past, Rong Xing would mock him, but now she didn't even bother. She was only worried about Su Yingxue's frail health, fearing she might not survive in the back mountains. But she couldn't leave the Silver Moon Pavilion, couldn't escape Chu Yifeng's gaze. After much hesitation, she descended underground. The underground was a vast storage room. It was also the Silver Moon Pavilion's secret network. Rong Xing received intel from the network. On the 15th of December, the Great Qing Dynasty and Great Qi Dynasty went to war. Within 3 days, they launched a fierce assault, killing 8,000 enemies. However, on the 4th day, the 9th prince was defeated and trapped in Yong City. It wasn't hard to guess why the Great Qi Dynasty chose this time to start a war with the Great Qing Dynasty. With Chu Yihan's loss of Su Yingxue and his unstable state of mind, Han Yuan, under Wu Dao's orders, moved against him, seizing the perfect opportunity. After crippling Chu Yihan, it would be Beling City and Great Wei Dynasty's turn. Rong Xing wrote a few secret letters, dispatched by the Silver Moon Pavilion's guards. Hong had already reported her actions to Chu Yifeng. Chu Yifeng reclined on a soft couch, his face identical to Chu Yihan's but far more devilish, showing no emotion. He spat out a date pit. Do as she says. Yes, master. Hong had guessed Chu Yifeng's intentions and gave the orders. But he couldn't understand. Master, Princess Rong Xing wants to kill the West Pavilion master. What are your thoughts? Chu Yifeng and Chu Yihan were twin brothers, and the 9th prince, the most powerful figure in the Great Qing dynasty, had always been upright. This brother of his master, had never understood his intentions. Whether to kill Wu Dao or aid in evil, each decision was unpredictable. Chu Yifeng's female slaves fed him another date. He caressed one of their faces lazily. It depends on my mood. If I'm in a good mood, it'll help them. If not, whoever I want to die will die. And your brother, Hong sweated. At least they're biological brothers. Would he just watch him die? Hong thought. Chu Yifeng spat a date pit at Hong, wrinkling his nose in disgust. Losing because of a woman is truly embarrassing. How embarrassing. Hong kept his head low, not daring to let Chu Yifeng see his mouth twitching. Master, are you really in a position to say that about your brother, who is risking his life for Princess Sheng? Hong couldn't help but think. 7 days later, in the back mountains of the Silver Moon Pavilion, Hong came to inspect the situation. As expected, there was a strong smell of blood. Normally, he would find a mountain of corpses and bodies torn apart by wild beasts. But to his surprise, there was the smell of blood, and there were people. Many people. Behind Su Yingxue stood Jing and 98 female slaves. They all stood behind Su Yingxue when they saw all Hong approaching. During these 7 days, Su Yingxue led them to hunt wild beasts and find food. They all survived safely. This outcome astonished Ah Hong, who hurried to report to his master. Chu Yifeng had 2 female slaves attending to him, massaging his shoulders and legs. When they heard Ah Hong's report, their beautiful eyes widened. She's quite capable, as expected of Chu Yihan's woman. All Hong cursed silently. Weren't you looking down on your brother who lost because of a woman just yesterday? Chu Yifeng, it's been 7 days. I want to go to the back mountains. Rong entered and saw 2 beautiful female slaves beside Chu Yifeng. Disgust flickered in her eyes. Chu Yifeng noticed her disgust and felt suddenly better. He pushed away the female slaves beside him and embraced Rong. Let's go. I'll accompany you to the back mountains. Su Yingxue was waiting in the back mountains. If she guessed correctly, she should be able to meet the legendary East Pavilion master of the Silver Moon Pavilion now. He was also the one who saved her and threw her into the back mountains. In the past 7 days, her body had almost recovered thanks to the Medicine King Valley's healing. Therefore, when Chu Yifeng appeared in front of her, her heart skipped a beat. She rushed over and jumped onto him to hug him. Your Highness. She finally saw him again. How worried must he have been when she went missing on their wedding night? Ah Hong was dumbfounded by this sudden turn of events. Even Ah Jing and the female slaves behind her were stunned. Sister Yingxue is very impressive. Chapter 793, Rong is really amazing. 1. Not only could Su Yingxue bring them along to hunt wild beasts, but she could also dash over and embrace Chu Yifeng, who emitted such a sinister aura. Indeed, she was quite impressive. Chu Yifeng clicked his tongue. Don't you find yourself rather heavy? Could it be that his younger brother had devoted all his strength to hugging Su Yingxue? Su Yingxue turned her head in confusion. She cupped Chu Yifeng's face and gently touched his forehead. Your Highness, what's wrong? Normally, you would be displeased if I didn't embrace you. Chu Yifeng's lips curved into a faintly mocking arc, is that so? His brother, always wearing a cold expression, had such an unknown side to him. Su Yingxue was on the verge of nodding in agreement, ready to respond with a resounding yes. When she didn't hug Chu Yihan would subtly release a low pressure, making her realize her lack of closeness to him. But now, seeing the mockery in Chu Yifeng's eyes, Su Yingxue immediately jumped down. She took 3 steps back and pointed warily at Chu Yifeng. You're not Your Highness. Who are you? Chu Yifeng raised his lips. You've been hugging me for so long, and now you're just asking who I am. If Your Highness found out, what would he think? For some reason, Su Yingxue felt that this person was very despicable. If Your Highness finds out, he'll probably kill you first. Is that so? Chu Yifeng burst into laughter. Ignore him. Let me check on your condition. Rong bypassed the somewhat crazed Chu Yifeng and walked up to Su Yingxue. Rong reached out her hand, gesturing for her to place her hand in her palm. Su Yingxue was cautious of strangers. But the beautiful woman in white before her didn't trigger any sense of danger. She instinctively reached out her hand. Rong placed 2 fingers on Su Yingxue's slender wrist and gently felt her pulse. Her fingers were slender and fair like a work of art meticulously crafted by the heavens. Slightly cool, yet radiating care. Su Yingxue couldn't help but ask, do you know me? Rong nodded gently. Yes. This was their first encounter, yet she had already heard about her and envisioned her appearance more than once. She bore an uncanny resemblance to her most admired senior sister, Long Shuli. A bright and determined young woman. After Rong checked Su Yingxue's pulse, she was astounded to find her body in nearly pristine condition. Considering she had been completely drained of blood by her mentor, Wu Dao, surviving was already miraculous. But now, she was recovering so well. Yingxue, did your mother leave something for you? Curiosity flickered across Rongxing's flawless visage. Su Yingxue nodded. Yes. She refrained from mentioning Medicine King Valley, yet she felt no need to conceal it from the woman before her. There was an undeniable sense of connection. Rongxing nodded. That's not surprising. With access to your senior sister's medical laboratory, your recovery would be swift. Medical laboratory. Su Yingxue heard another unfamiliar term. She sensed it was related to her mother. This woman surely knew her mother. She could not wait to ask, but she was even more curious about, who is he? Why do you resemble your highness so closely? The face that could make her mistake wasn't just a disguise. But in this world, who could resemble your highness so closely? Just as Chu Yifeng was about to tease her, Rongxing cut in directly. He is the elder brother of the 9th prince, Chu Yifeng. Su Yingxue was shocked. Su Yingxue's eyes widened. Isn't he deceased? How could there be a resurrection? If you're not dead, why should I be? Chu Yifeng chuckled, his lips curling into a mocking smile. His mockery lent him an irresistible allure. Su Yingxue was convinced she belonged to Chu Yihan's lineage. Rongxing intended to escort her back to the Silver Moon Pavilion and brief her on what lay ahead. Behind Su Yingxue, Alt Jing timidly called out, Sister Yingxue. She was afraid that if Su Yingxue was taken away, they would be locked up here, forced to endure mutual slaughter just to survive. However, Su Yingxue held Rongxing's hand and said, Release them, let them live their lives in peace. Rongxing wasn't one to be ruthless or extinguish humanity, but she looked towards Chu Yifeng. This is the domain of the East Pavilion Master, you should ask him. Following her gaze, Su Yingxue's eyes landed on Chu Yifeng. Chu Yifeng looked at her and smiled. Su Yingxue found it difficult to conceal her disdain. He's the East Pavilion Master? Why do I feel like it's you? Chu Yifeng exuded a strong aura on his own, but standing beside Rongxing, he seemed somewhat weaker, almost as if he deferred to her authority. Chapter 794, Rongxing is really amazing, too. Chu Yifeng heard this without getting angry. He toyed with the jade pendant at his waist and pursed his lips. As the pavilion master, I could show leniency, but it would require senior sister's intercession to be effective. Senior sister was referring to Rongxing. His unabashed admiration for Rongxing was evident in his eyes. Su Yingxue struggled to comprehend how this guy became the East Pavilion Master of the Silver Moon Pavilion. Could it be just luck? He seemed utterly infatuated with Rongxing. Release them, Rongxing said nonchalantly, paying no mind to Chu Yifeng. Very well, Ah Hong, release them and give each one 10 taels of silver. Chu Yifeng gestured grandly. He commanded with imperial authority despite the absence of a dragon throne. Ah Hong promptly organized the distribution of silver and released the captives. The sudden turn of events left Su Yingxue needing time to process, and the 98 female slaves behind her took a while to react, shedding tears of joy. When Ah Jing received the silver, she tearfully thanked Su Yingxue, Sister Yingxue, thank you. Aren't you joining us? Su Yingxue shook her head and gently touched Ah Jing's face. I have other matters to attend to. Ah Jing, once you're out, you must live well. Yes. Sister Yingxue, I'll make sure to live well and not disappoint you. As Ah Jing left, gratitude filled her eyes. Watching the 98 female slaves depart, Su Yingxue sighed, surviving truly isn't easy. Those who are alive bear heavy responsibilities, like you and me. Rong Sheng's eyes darkened. Suddenly, Su Yingxue felt a profound resonance with Rong Sheng. Rong Sheng brought her back to the Silver Moon Pavilion and candidly revealed that she too had transmigrated. To be precise, she was forcefully brought into this world by Wu Dao. Wu Dao was a top-tier medical doctor in the modern world and possessed a coveted medical laboratory. He hailed from a powerful family and was nearly perfect. In the modern world where civilization was open and technology was advanced, his ambition was extremely vast. He wanted to be the king, to become the ruler of the world. He felt that he could control a person's life and death by mastering the most cutting-edge and powerful medical science. Unfortunately, his idea could not be realized in modern times. Therefore, through a scientific experiment, he found this world in a parallel time and space and brought a few of his most proud students to transmigrate. Rong Sheng, Long Shuli, and Han Yuan were among them. Rong Sheng and Long Shuli initially believed that they had followed Wu Dao into an era rife with corruption. They desired change, healing, and the creation of an era belonging to them, one where they could establish medical humanities. However, they later discovered that the mentor who brought them there had given himself a name, Wu Dao. That wasn't his true intention. He was merely ambitious, seeking to conquer the era and dominate the world. He wanted to become the sole supreme ruler. He aimed to control all the people of this world. He established the Silver Moon Pavilion, commencing his ambitious journey. Initially, their disagreement made Wu Dao somewhat hesitant. But later, he directly targeted Long Shuli, using her fate as a warning to her and Han Yuan. He even sought to recruit more people to aid him in uniting the world. For the sake of the people of this world, Long Shuli caused Wu Dao to fall ill, temporarily halting his ambitions. Wu Dao has porphyria, preventing him from sunlight exposure. The conditions here hinder his self-treatment. He can only constantly replenish his hemoglobin, hence his search for a suitable blood source for extraction. Rong Sheng elucidated all of Su Yingxue's queries. Su Yingxue swiftly processed these doubts in her mind. So, Wu Dao killed my mother. Su Yingxue's fists clenched tightly, emitting cracking sounds. Rong Sheng nodded. You could say that. Your mother was defiled by your father, all orchestrated by Wu Dao. However, senior sister was resilient. Despite adversity, she would find a way through. Eventually, she bore Su Hao, becoming a Marquis Madam, and then you. This was something Rong Sheng had never fully comprehended. Long Shuli being drugged and bearing Su Hao was happenstance. Yet, a few years later, she conceived Su Yingxue. How did Wu Dao kill my mother? Did he intend to kill me too back then? Su Yingxue's eyes reddened. Rong Sheng shook his head. Much more cruel. Wu Dao spun a beautiful lie for Long Shuli, promising her that death would reunite her with the modern world. Long Shuli, weary of the world's turmoil and tired of battling Wu Dao, still harbored a modicum of trust in him. Thus, when she bore Su Yingxue, she passed away in peace. But Rong Sheng knew Long Shuli could never return. Ultimately, she perished under Wu Dao's deceit. Wu Dao, you're heartless and yet aspire to rule the world. Su Yingxue's resolve hardened. Dream on. Even if it cost her life, Su Yingxue would kill him. For the sake of the people. All right, give it 2 more days. When the time is right, we'll eliminate Wu Dao together, Rong Sheng reassured, gently holding her hand. Us? Su Yingxue stood up curiously and pointed at Chu Yifeng, who was lying on the soft couch and being served by a beautiful female slave. Could he have also transmigrated here? Hadn't Chu Yihan's real brother died long ago? Rong Sheng shook her head. He hasn't. Back then, to save Chu Yifeng's life, she had deliberately fabricated the fact that he was already dead. She also made Wu Dao think that he had successfully brought another senior brother over during the experiment, thus deceiving him. For so many years, she had been teaching Chu Yifeng how to not let Wu Dao find out. They had been hiding it from Wu Dao until now. You're tuning in to the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.